scared of this. I cannot begin to comprehend what I'm about to do. I was so astronomically wrong that it's almost funny. Hello, book reading friends. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Mel, and today I bring you a video that absolutely terrifies me. I have been suggested to do this video countless of times before. This video was particularly suggested numerous times by my Patreons, so thank you to the Citadel for suggesting I make this video. I have always put this off. I have always said that I was never going to do this video. I genuinely hope these books surprise me, and I genuinely hope that I don't lose my sanity by the end. You've already read the title, so you already know what this is, and today I am going to be rereading or reattempting to read the books that I previously DNF'd. If you are not familiar with the term DNF, it means did not finish, meaning that I started this book and for whatever reason I had at the time, I decided to not carry through with my read, completely put it down, and never pick it up again. However, the term never has been tossed to the trash, and today the answer is yes, I will be reattempting them, and it will be quite interesting to see what I think a second time around. And before I get into all of those reasons, I need to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of today's video, which is Ana Luisa. I think at this point, with the amount of times that I've worked with Ana Luisa, you guys would be no strangers to them, my love for them, and how much of a jewelry junkie I really am. I absolutely adore jewelry. I love just decking up with it and to really dress up whatever it is that I'm wearing on my shirt, on my t-shirt, on my jackets, on my hoodies, because my personal style is very much loungewear, very much casual, very much minimal here, and let's dress it up everywhere else. And that's the style that I love wearing. And Ana Luisa is always a great help into building a jewelry collection that is not incredibly expensive and that lasts you for quite a long time, if I do say so myself. The variety is also quite big. They've got jewelry from literally anything you can imagine, from gold pieces to silver pieces, and they've got prices ranging from $39, which is quite incredible. So their pieces are high quality and don't have those luxury markups, which I'm sure not only myself, but a lot of people are incredibly terrified of. Ana Luisa is also particularly great because they use the best noble materials for these jewelry pieces, and not only that, but they've also managed to offset 100% of their carbon emissions, starting from how they source the raw materials all the way to the disposal of the pieces, which is pretty neat. And as for the pieces that I received this month, first we've got the Miche necklace. Now, a few months back, if you've been watching my videos, then you'd know that I got the matching earring set. I prefer gold jewelry through and through. Now, for the earrings, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I've been seeing this trend everywhere where one earring is slightly longer than the other, and I wanted to try it out for myself, and so for the earrings this time, I chose the Hannah Lee earrings. And for another new necklace, because you guys know me, I love layering my necklaces. I just love the way that they look with a regular simple t-shirt. I got the Hannah necklace, which was designed by a clockwork reader here on booktube, so a fellow booktuber designed this. So with Valentine's Day just around the corner, if you want to give your significant other, a loved one, a special little something, they do have a sale going on right now, and they have up to 40% off on their website. So if you do want to check them out, I will be leaving the link at the top of my description so you guys can just redirect yourself over to their website and again browse everything that they have to offer. Thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video, and without further ado, let's get right into the explanation and the TBR of what's happening today. Let me walk you guys through what's happening here, okay? Because I was very scared to do this video for a number of reasons. I do not want to fall into a reading slump in case any of these books ends up being as not bad, but as not of a good experience as they were the first time around. So I have bought two books that I read or attempted to read through ebook format that I didn't love at the time, so I really want to see what happens. And so the first thing that I'm going to be reading in this video, and you guys know I have strong opinions about this book. I DNF'd it, I think. Honestly, out of all of these books, the best way's in. I think I was like 30%, 40% through this book at the point that I DNF'd it. And that is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. So I will be, hello, honk. They said, yes, you will read it. A lot of you will also be screaming in joy. I am screaming in pain at the fact that I'm reading this because I've made it my whole brand that I shall never read about tales, but I'm reading the Quill Prince in this video. Now is the time for you to cheer and yell into the comment section. This is the one book that I didn't get that far into to have like a very strong opinion, even though I still do have a strong opinion about this, but we're going to reattempt it right here, right now, and see what we think. Let's get into this. Let's get into the books that I've DNF'd that I'm retrying. Hello friends, I've got an update because I have started officially An Enchantment of Ravens by Miss, I always forget her name, Margaret Rogerson. Hello, we've started and I am officially 95 pages in, and I just realized as I am reading this book that I only read about 100 pages, which is all things considered not a bad spot to DNF a book. However, I thought I'd read most of it. Point is, not as atrocious as I thought this would be. I think this is the one that I feel most negatively towards, and I think it's mostly, and the more I read this book, I think it's mostly due to the fact that I entered this for the first time fully expecting, hi Nala, I fully expected an ACOTAR-like narrative. I was expecting a fantasy romance. I was expecting something smutty. I was expecting Miss SJM. This is not SJM. This is much more lyrical, much more whimsical. It's very fast-paced, and it has to be fast-paced because this book is 297 pages long. However, the same qualm that I had at first that I still do have, it's the fact that this book is so fast-paced and there doesn't seem to be a lot of place for establishment, for a lot of the world building that this book is attempting to do. I think there are certain subjects and certain elements of the world building that are pretty much straightforward, so in that regard it's not as bothersome, but I do wish there was kind of more development, and this book is a standalone. However, if this book would have been 350 pages, maybe 400 pages, I wouldn't be half as mad. I'm not mad, but you know, I would be more inclined towards liking it just a bit more. Rook and Isabel, which are the main characters. Rook is the Autumn Court prince, I guess. And then Isabel is the artist that is very much involved with the fair folk, with the fairy courts, and she just paints a lot of portraits for them. And they do have chemistry. I think the first time around, I was like, where's the chemistry? These two just fell in love too quickly, because she did mention, oh, I was about to tell him that I was falling in love with him, but he a douche, so I'm not gonna do it. However, the chemistry is not as bad as I initially thought. Like, I definitely think this time around, kind of going in with the right set of expectations, I know what I'm getting, and I'm not as mad as I was that first time around, or as bothered, I should say. I am liking it. I don't think it's anything groundbreaking. What I will say is very interesting about this book in comparison to other fairy books out there, or fae books out there, which I think I will also encounter with The Cruel Prince. What I like about this is the fact that the fae are not nice. Like, the fae are cruel. They cannot outwardly lie, but they can be very cunning and conniving, and they can just twist and turn words in whatever way fits them most. And when it comes to enchantment, they can also warp your words and give you whatever they see fit just because they want some sort of mischief to happen. And I like that about them. They're not, you know, romanticized in this book. There is an element of romance in the way that Isabel sees Rook in particular, but she doesn't neglect, I guess, the bad or hideous parts of him. And what I like also is that the fae have this sort of glamour around them, so they're not as pretty as they seem. And if you really look past the glamour, they're actually really freaking just hideous. So I like the fact that the fae are being portrayed a bit more accurately than other fae books that I've read in the past to the folk tales, and also just because of the position that they're currently in, where she might have to be killed, head chopped off. I'm wondering what will happen to get her out of it. So I'm intrigued. I'm reading, and it's not as bad as I initially thought, again, which is quite good. So I do think I'm gonna be able to pull through it and finish this one this time around, and actually give it a higher rating than I gave it last time, because I think the last time I gave it like 1 star. It's the way that this girl's got jokes. Also, hi Liv. I'm literally watching some Liv sprint right now. However, something just happened. Spoiler, can't say what it is. But this girl goes, how much magic do you waste on vanity? For heaven's sake, you could barely stand. It wasn't as though the Bear Lord and I cared how you looked, you know? Maybe points for Isabel. I don't know what her real name is, but she uses Isabel for the sake of not being fucked over by the fae. However, she's got jokes. I'll give that to her. I kind of giggled a little bit. I can just feel the rating going and just rising, and I don't know how I feel about it, but that's where we are. Hi friends, I bear updates for y'all. I was gonna say I come bearing updates, but it did not leave my mouth the way I intended to. I finished An Enchantment of Ravens, and it made me eat my words. I was so astronomically wrong that it's almost funny, but definitely sad, but mostly funny, because I've been advocating for 2 years about how this book is not it, how this book is so bad. A girl can admit when she's wrong, and she was wrong about this book. I absolutely loved this. I love the whimsical fairy tale tone to this. I loved the characters, and I love the journey that they both go through. And although the book is very, very short, I think it accomplishes all that it could in these amount of pages. The world building comes across as incredibly clear, and while yes, there could be more depth to it, because there could be, I don't think it could have been done within the span of pages that we got. It was action-packed, it was intriguing, you constantly were wondering where the narrative was going, and I think the plot twist at the end and how everything played out was incredibly just satisfactory, and it actually shocked me. Like, I was really surprised at the end, and I just absolutely love Isabel and Rook. I love them together and I love them separately, and I love that there's almost this reluctance to their relationship in a way. It's like, yes, I love you, but that does not mean that I accept the fact that I love you, or that I'm okay with loving you up until they are or are not. And so I love that back and forth sort of tug of war on their feelings, because sometimes, you know, way past the fact that he's Fae and this is completely illegal, there's sometimes instances in relationships where as human beings, we just don't want to admit the fact that there are feelings in between, whether because it's a little bit uncomfortable, whether because we don't want to damage a relationship, or because it's scary. And there's just so many variables incoming when it comes to feelings that I love how it was portrayed in this particular narrative. The fact that humans are not that welcomed into the court, but when they are, they almost seem to lose track of time and forget who they are. You know what that reminded me of? Kind of reminded me, if you've watched the Percy Jackson movie, or if you've read the books, when they go into the Lotus Hotel and then they lose all track of time because they've been eating the lotus flowers, and they're like, I never want to leave, this is so good, this is so magical. That's exactly what humans experience in the Fate Court. See, now I want to read more Margaret Rogerson. I have been hearing some really great things about Sorcery of Thorns, and I've heard that people actually like that more than this one. So what I'm about to do is just go buy that. Who is she? I don't know if I told you my rating. I gave this 4 stars. It was really good. And now, I'm obviously not gonna start this tonight because it's very, very late. However, tomorrow morning I have an interview, which is actually very exciting but very nerve-wracking. I'm being interviewed for a magazine here in Panama. I don't know anything. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But after that, hopefully starting 1 p.m. it'll all be about The Cruel Prince, and I also am hopeful about finishing this tomorrow. We'll see when we get there, but it is time. Let's hope it goes good. Hello everybody. This is the weirdest angle I will ever film in. I feel like I keep saying that with every experimental vlog that I carry out. However, I have been reading The Cruel Prince. Hello, I'm in bed right now. And I did not expect this book to go like this. So I think when I initially started this book 2 years ago, I read like 25 pages and then I said, I'm out. And this is just like a personal preference. I just don't love when books go from third person, POV, and then they switch to first. It's just something that bugs me like so incredibly much. And there's just something about it feeling more detached from the main character, but at the same time feeling very intimate because you get to know all of the details. I just think when it's in third person, you don't get the annoying thought process that some main characters might have, particularly in YA. And so with this one, I didn't expect that the first time around, and I was like, I'm not a fan, don't want to read this. Didn't mind it as much this time because I obviously knew what I was getting myself into. So the way that this world works is that it's divided into real world and Elfheim. Elfheim, you know what I'm trying to say. And the real world is like modern Like, they literally just walked into an Apple store. Kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. I think in particular, and this is very tropey and very formulaic, that fae books tend to be set at a time where it's almost medieval without being medieval, but you can tell that it's not present time. So that definitely threw me off for a loop there. Even I've heard people say that this is like a bully romance, and it's definitely gonna evolve from like a bully to romance. I don't know if I'd call it hate to love, because I don't think they hate each other. Like, Cardan is literally a bully. That's what he is. And he's a very petty bully. Also, my dude barely knows how to do it. He was like, give me a kiss and I'll leave you alone. I'm like, Cardan, if you're asking for kisses, may as well just tell her you're into her. I saw this. I have many questions. However, let me go back to reading this because I definitely want to make more of a dent to this tonight. Okay, y'all, I am officially 100 pages away from finishing The Cruel Prince, and I'm choking on air. This is a book that I read, and I don't know what else to say. So, based on what I previously told you, it's very political. It still continues to be very political in a way that I didn't expect. What I wish I would have gotten with this book, you know, I say, well, I still have 100 pages to go. I wish this book would have been longer. I don't mind the story, I think, half as much as I did when I initially read this. Do I think that this is something absolutely revolutionary, 5-star worthy, next favorite book of all time? Absolutely not. Am I still curious to see what happens in the later installments of this book? Yes, and I think what is mostly going to rule that is when I actually finish this book and when I reach the end of the journey. I will say that Jude is giving me, and bear with me because I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh my god, Mel, you're so wrong, and just hear me out, okay? Jude is giving me very much Feyre vibes. When Feyre is like, oh my god, I know how to paint and I'm an artiste and my paintings are so good. If you remember the Akumath live show when Rachel said, I just know this bitch be drawing stick figures and for reals only knows how to draw anime eyes and nothing else, and she's like, graphic design is my passion. Those are the vibes that Jude is giving me when it comes to battle strategy and actual battle skills. So everybody's saying like how smart Jude is, like, you know, Jude is such a strategist. She takes after Maddox very well, even though Maddox is not actually her dad and all this. And I'm like, bitch, where? Like, girl be literally dumb as a rock. Like, every decision she makes ends up backfiring in any sort of way. Any important plot twist that happens in the book is right in front of Girly, and Girly cannot even begin to comprehend what is actually happening. And I get it, like, they're literally kids. I do want to see her development as a character and see where she goes, because I do think there's a lot of potential there for her to like rake havoc, you know, in all of Fairy, and I think that would be a really interesting route. I feel like she's very standard YA main character, which would make sense by the time that this book was published in. I just, again, wish we would have gotten more politics if that's what this book was gonna give, and more development, more background story, more internal monologue. Like, we are getting some internal monologue from Jude, but I find that it's very repetitive, and it's her going, I will slash my enemies and I will kill Cardan and his group. And like, I get it, you want to kill everybody and you want to prove yourself, but what more is there to you? I feel like Holly Black is almost reducing Jude to the fact that she yearns to be Fae so much, which, I mean, it makes sense. She has a sister, Vivi, who is Fae, and she wants nothing to do with this world, and she has Taryn, who Taryn's just kind of like indifferent towards Fairy, and Jude is very much like, there is nothing to be done here but prove myself. And while I like that sense of bravado from her, and while I like her motivation as a character, I wish there was like more to her, and I do feel like we're gonna find out more about her as we move on to the next books. I really do hope that I do. Like, you can just tell that these two idiots are like in love with each other, but they cannot begin to like comprehend that they just feel for each other. I literally get the sense that they're gonna push this towards the very last minute and are probably gonna say I love you in the last book because they're both just emotionally constipated. So I just know that's probably what's gonna happen, and that's just where we're we're at. I finished The Cruel Prince, and Miss Jude did that. And props to her for proving me wrong. She proved to me how cunning, conniving, how much of a strategist, how smart she is at the end, and I love that. I also, and I guess this is the part where I just want to talk about spoilers a little bit, just because I don't know how much I can encapsulate how much I loved some scenes in particular. But before I do get into spoilers, and I'll let you know when we're getting into them, let me just say, I like the dynamics between Jude and Cardan, and it's very clear in a way that you can tell that they're into each other, but there's still that hate enemies to lovers play that I very much enjoy, and I like how they go about it. It's definitely a bully romance, though. I will say the romance part of this, not strong at all. If you've been wanting to go into The Cruel Prince and you think that you're gonna get a hotshot romance and that you're gonna get all of that, literally wipe that off your brain. This is an extremely politically led fantasy, and while at times it worked for and against the book, the romance in this is very minimal. Like, again, you can tell that these two like each other and that it's going to develop into something, but what truly prevails in this is the rivalry that they both have. And so that play, again, I really enjoyed in the book, because there's, you know, we reach a certain point where they have no other choice but to talk about how they feel, and they're like, oh, feelings, oh, disgusting. And I kind of like that when we finally get into isolating Cardan for him to truly show who he is. We get to see a different yet similar side of it, and that part I like. I like the fact that Holly Black didn't make him mushy when he was alone with Jude, because I just think that would have been not only an incredibly inaccurate depiction of the Fae that she wrote in this book, but also an incredibly inaccurate depiction of Cardan at that point in time. Is it the best first installment? No, but I do think it was just a massive setup for everything that's going to follow, and I'm very intrigued and curious as to how this whole trilogy is going to wrap up. If you have not read The Cruel Prince, please flash forward to whatever timestamp I'm going to indicate, because I'm about to spoil a big plot point of the book and two scenes that are very prominent in the book. So again, if you don't want spoilers, if you haven't read this book, skedaddle to the next section. I know you haven't clicked away. I just know this. In my heart and soul, I know this. Click away if you haven't read it. I'm giving you a second chance. So I texted one of my best friends who absolutely adores The Cruel Prince, and she was like, you have to text me when you get to the confession scene. You have to text me when Cardan is finally like, I like you, okay? And I can't do anything about it, and I hate that I like you, and let's just like move past that. So I texted her, but I didn't text her in that moment. But I will say, in that moment, I absolutely adored the angst of when Jude just walks up to him and she grabs the dagger and angles his face up, and she kisses him. Also, there's this Easter egg in the book where Holly Black talks about humans who alterate their ears in order to look like Fae, which is funny because that's exactly what she did. So I see you, Miss Black. However, what I'm gonna get at is the fact that I literally guessed the ending. So just for reference, and so you know that I'm not lying, it's currently 9:58 p.m. I literally texted my best friend at 8:26, and I told her, what? She wanted him to swear himself to her, almost like fealty. Bitch battle performs employed to make him king and control him behind the scenes, isn't she? I can smell it. And I did indeed smell it, and I guessed it, but that didn't take away from my enjoyment. I just wanted to see how it was gonna play out, how she was gonna scheme it all, and it was gonna come into fruition. It did not disappoint. And those were my reactions as I was reading the book. It's also funny that both of these were Fae-centric books, and it's also funny because my favorite out of these two ended up being An Enchantment of Ravens, which was the book I felt the most strongly negatively towards. I am very surprised at the outcome of this, and I would definitely say that it was worth a try. And I mean, not necessarily even a try, like it was a good try and it was a successful outcome. And I'm excited to maybe do this again in the future of like rereading books that I've DNF'd and kind of make this maybe a little bit of an ongoing scattered series. Like, it's not gonna happen often, but when I feel the need to, maybe this will happen again. So let me know if you guys would like that. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and everything that went down with both of these these books. And if you did, don't forget to give this video a massive thumbs up down below. As per usual, let me know if you've read any of these 2 books. If you have, again, all of your thoughts, all of your opinions down in the comments. I love to chat with you guys about these things. Also, let me know down in the comments if there are any books that you've DNF'd and if you'd be willing to give them a try again. I'm very curious about how people feel about DNFing. Is it like a definite resolute thing for you of like, once it's DNF, I'm never picking it back up, I'm never looking at it again? Or would it be something that you've kind of put down for now but you'd be willing to retry in the future? I'm very curious about that. And if you've reached the end of this video, let's leave a crown emoji down below. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't done so already. I am constantly uploading videos I'm sure you do not want to miss. And if you want more exclusive content and to support the channel further, I do have a Patreon. We call ourselves the Citadel. That is always linked down below alongside all of my social medias. Also, once more, thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget that if you head on over to their website, they currently have an up to 40% sale due to the Valentine's Day season. So if you're looking for a gift for that special someone, this is the time to snatch that up through Ana Luisa. I will be leaving my link at the top of the description as always. And yes, I love you guys so much, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye guys.